Up, Robert Motorworks fam? We're back with another video. We're gonna do some work on the Subaru today, which is my wife's car. It's a 2015 Forester, and it needs some maintenance. It's been a really good vehicle, though. We haven't had hardly anything that we've had to put in these things. I mean, they just run and run forever. It's got 81,000 miles on it now, so it's a little bit past due for doing the spark plugs on it. And the other thing that's happened is that the driver's side ball joint is starting to pop a little bit while it's on the freeway. So pretty common in that age as well too. All I've really done to this thing is oil changes and related. So I've got a bunch of parts for the Subaru specifically. These are for my Suburban, which is going to be another video coming up. But yeah, let's jump into it, guys, and start tearing down, do some work on the Subaru. So in order to get at these spark plugs, you've got to move some collateral things out of the way. The battery specifically on this side, and then the air box on this side. What makes this job difficult and challenging is that right down here on the frame itself, as you can see my finger coming across, there's coil packs that are almost in line with the frame rails. So it's really tight quarters getting a spark plug socket in and out of there. But so if you move a couple of these things out of the way, it gives you more room. We have the laser iridium NGKs, which are the original. These are top of the line. I actually used these in my BMW M3 back in the day as well too. Here's the part number that I've used, and I got these from Rock Auto for a pretty reasonable price. So we'll definitely be putting those in. But yeah, as you can see, I've done stuff like change the oil regularly on this thing, and I've done the brake pads front and rear. But yeah, other than that, it's been a pretty maintenance-free car, just aside from that, and just keeping up on regular fluid changes. So let's start tearing it down. Okay, so as you can see here, there's these coil packs, and taking that battery out gives me a lot more room. So there's a 10 millimeter that literally holds on the coil pack. So I'm just taking this off by hand. I took the gloves off too, just to have better tactile feel rather than not knowing the feel of a bolt. So that is just about out. So there you go, just a simple bolt. And then each one of these has got a connector on it, and I'll have to get those out next. So let me get close up here with the camera so I can show you what I'm doing. So as you can see, they're actually just tied on there with a clip, but I'm able to take the piece out, and it doesn't really make any sense to just slide it out of the way. So I think I'm just going to do that instead and start putting a thing in there. I watched another guy online do this, and they recommend taking these out. I don't see any reason to take the coil pack out, but so let's start taking these out. Okay guys, I was able to get the plug out. I'm just using my little magnet thing. I didn't really have a socket that's a spark plug socket that's dedicated, so what I just used was a 14 millimeter and this magnet, which is really handy just to grab it and pull it out from there. So yeah, I think that worked okay. I'll put it back in the same way. I suppose I could get fancy, put a piece of hose in my socket. Maybe I'll try that for putting them back in. I've got some extra fuel line laying around. But as you can see, definitely some wear on these. Looks pretty good otherwise for the first plug. I'm sure that gap is probably larger than the new ones. Let me get the new one here. Just for comparison, here's one versus the other one here. So you can definitely see a bit of wear, but considering that that's got 80,000 miles on a plug, that's not too bad actually. So just giving it a look. But that's the recommended service interval. And it looks like we've got the correct plug down to the exact part number. So cool, let's start putting this back in. Okay, so ready to put this one back in. I did put a bit of anti-seize on it, just to make sure that it doesn't seize up in the future if I ever go to change them again. So let's put them in. Well, okay guys, that was pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's super easy, but I don't know, if you've done spark plugs before in a modern car, like I've done them on BMWs where you have to take apart half of the valve cover to get at coil packs and related, it's just really the challenge of, you know, I'm just using some simple tools like a magnet, a simple socket, and then just a couple of things. I tried using the torque wrench to get in there, but it's just too clunky, and I just got it snug up to the washer, I think, which is fine. So yeah, that's one side done, and so let's shift over to the other side. And as you can see, this motor's kind of dusty as well too, so maybe I'll do a little bit of cleaning and spraying up after I'm done too. But yeah, I think just to get this part out of the way, we'll just disconnect mass airflow sensor part of the airbox here, and that should get us in here and right down in there. And it actually seems like it's a little bit closer to deal with close quarters. So, but you know, that wasn't too bad compared to a lot of these other YouTube videos I've watched out there on this project. So if you guys have got one of these Subarus, give it a try, because it wasn't that intimidating once I got into it. So let's get on to the other side. Okay, airbox removal time. So let's see if we can get this thing off without busting it up here. And there you have it, guys. That's the last of the other two on this side. So yeah, I mean, this just didn't turn out to be as challenging of a job as well, I guess I was putting it off to make it to be, but you know, save tons of maintenance. Just to give you guys a ballpark, at the dealer for something like this, it's like over $500 to $600 just to have 4 spark plugs replaced on this thing. And I probably did it less than an hour. I mean, I've got to put some of the tangibles back on the car, but don't be afraid to pick up a wrench and do this yourself. I didn't buy anything special for tools other than maybe my little magnet thing, but you can see from my my slow motion time lapses that all I really did is just, took my time, patience, one step at a time. And one of the things that was really handy was taking that screwdriver to use it as a tool to push against the socket and the extension to hold it in place while you're trying to yank the extension out of it, things like that, because otherwise just trying to get the sockets disconnected and related makes it challenging. So yeah, let's button this thing up and give it a crank. Okay guys, all the tangibles are back in. Everything's connected. Everything's hooked up. We're gonna give it a start. There she goes. Purring like a kitten. Just like that. You too can replace your spark plugs on your Subaru. So that's the first phase of this video. The next phase of the video we're gonna do is hitting these control arms, because each one of the control arms are in tough shape. So specifically on the driver's side, it has a bad ball joint. So here's the control arms, and we'll start getting into that in the next part of the video. Cool. Welcome back guys, it's day 2 on the other part of the project for the Subaru. We already got the thing off the ground. Here's our control arm stack that we're going to replace today. And if you look at this thing, pretty straightforward. Here's the arm that we're going to take out. There's a bolt through here. This part right here, you got to take off this other bracket here, which gets you to this other part here. And then this ball joint has got a through bolt through here, and we'll have to do a little bit of whacking to get that down. Pretty straightforward though. You can see this bushing's in, you know, tough shape. It's kind of showing some of its age. One of the things I did notice when I flipped around the tires is I've got some outboard tire wear here, which basically confirms my suspicion of why we're replacing these things. And then when you're driving this thing on the highway, you actually feel like a popping noise. So my suspicion is that the ball joint is basically bad, and it's jumping up and down inside of the ball joint cavity. So we'll take that apart and confirm that. But I'm 80,000 miles on these, and it's pretty typical wear. Cool thing for us again is this is California car, so we don't have to deal with any of that rust or any of that crazy stuff. So should be pretty quick to get this stuff taken down. So let's do it. Okay guys, we got one put together. I did have the camera battery die a little bit midway while I was putting the arm back on, so sorry for that. We'll try and pick up and get the same on the passenger side. I've already got the wheel popped off on this side, but it went pretty straightforward, pretty easy. That's the cool thing about working on something like this, because of the lack of rust on a vehicle. So literally, you know, you put an hour onto a job if you got to do this in the Midwest, as I'm sure lots of you guys know that. But yeah, let's get in it and start breaking this one down next. Okay guys, this is the passenger side, and it actually looks like it's in worse shape than the driver's side. As you can see from this tear here, there's quite a breakaway from that body mount bushing, and then this U-joint is a lot, or this ball joint I should say, is a lot more worn or loose. So this could have been some of that popping I was feeling, but I'm glad to get that out. So let's get the new one in. Okay, so let's cut this other one open. You guys can see how much cleaner that bushing is. So that's what we want. We don't want to have any kind of cracks like that. That's bad mojo there. Cool. Alright guys, that's the passenger side. So we're gonna button it up, drop it down. 2 A-arms replaced. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. That was the replacement of control arms for the 2015 Subaru Forester. A job that any of you guys can do at home. So hope you guys join us on the next video. Like the video if you like it. Consider subscribing, and thanks again for watching.
Peace.
Peace.